This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Polly Robinson Brown Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we are talking with Coach Steve Spurrier. Good afternoon, Coach Spurrier.
Lizzie, it's a pleasure to be with you today.
And it's an honor to have you with me today. I am looking forward to us going back in time and talking about the Rosewood history and our growing up. I grew up on a farm, and you grew up in the country also. I understand. Johnson City, Tennessee?
Yeah, but I was sort of a city boy.
Okay, he was a city boy.
My daddy was a preacher, and he had a small church in Athens, and then Newport, and then Johnson City.
Johnson City. Okay, well, my grandfather was a preacher. Okay, so we do have that in common. But first of all, I want to thank the podcast sponsors. The title sponsor is Campus USA Credit Union, Jerry Benton, and the bank is the bank director. Also, we have a studio naming sponsor, Jeffrey Meldon. And we have a live road sponsor, Greg Bradley, and Allstate Insurance, and he is the director of Mirror Image Leadership Academy. And while you're out there, looking at Gator Country and thinking about Gator Country, also visit my website at rosewoodflorida.com and make a donation. I just wanted to throw that out in advance so that you will not forget that. But Rosewood, my mom was the sister school to the school teacher, coach. And the school teacher was my mother, Gussie Brown Carrier, and she survived the Rosewood story and told my mom about her incident, what happened to her. And she was too embarrassed to tell her parents. And my mom said, baby, you cannot allow this history to go untold because we don't want it to repeat itself. Yes, ma'am. Did I want to do it? No. Because I knew it was a full-time job. I did not. In fact, I was upset with her. But because of her passion, I decided that I would research and tell the truth. And she said, you need a song too. And she wrote me a song, and I'm going to sing just some of it throughout the interview. But it starts off, Rosewood, Florida, borders Highway 24. A destroyed town, no blacks live there anymore. Where emptiness resides in the silent sacred breeze. Life there no more, only nature's moss on trees. Rosewood, Florida once was a growing community until the fighting started in 1923. No one ever thought Rosewood would go down in depth. That brought on so much pain and unforgettable distress. And that's just part of the song. She wanted me to introduce the history in song. So as I said, that's just the start of how it began. And I've been telling this story, and I've been making sure I tell it correctly, making sure no one is accused of what really happened in Rosewood, because she would tell me, baby, you didn't create Rosewood, and they didn't create Rosewood. So just tell the truth.
That's right.
And that's what I do.
I agree. I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing, and we need to get that museum. It's going to be built in Archer, correct?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And just need to raise some money, and I'm going to try to help any way I can, okay?
Okay.
And I'm going to make a donation also.
Okay.
Sure.
Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated, because that's what we need. The house, the John Wright house that they have donated to us, that we are going to bring to Arch and turn into a museum, is the house when the fighting in Rosewood started. He was a store owner, John Wright. He was the young man, he and his wife Mary housed or sheltered the Rosewood survivors until the train came from Cedar Key to 2 days later to pick them up and bring them to Arch, Gainesville, Waldo. But he provided shelter for them. And I've said to people, the house has been donated to us, we're going to move it, and we're going to shelter that house the same as they shelter the survivors.
Wonderful.
Yes. And we, as I say, we do need help to make sure we make this happen. So another verse says, and the Cedar Key train conductor Spurrier told to pick up in Rosewood, standing by the tracks with a lantern, its young school teacher stood, waiting in desperation to carry out the sheriff plan, rounding up the hidden survivors to board the midnight train. And many people don't know that the sheriff played a significant role in making sure they lived, they survived. Yes. Do you remember when I met you the first time out here?
Out here,
Yeah.
about a year ago or so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Freddie said to you, Steve, Coach Steve, this is Lizzie Jenkins, Rosewood, and you said to him, I know Lizzie Jenkins, and I just read the Rosewood article.
It was in the paper, yeah.
A day or two, yes. So would you like to tell us about some of your experiences growing up? You know, you were talking about some of the black boys and the segregation that you lived through.
Yeah. Fortunately, in Tennessee, East Tennessee, the black kids sort of stayed in their neighborhood, and they had their schools and gyms, and white boys and girls, we had our schools, and really there was never any thought of maybe we should go to school together, maybe we should all get along. It just, black kids had their community, white kids had their community, and went to different schools. I didn't even think anything about it. Now in the summertime, the black kids had Carver Park, which was, they had a nice gym down there. It was better than what the white guys had. We had the old rec building over there. So a lot of times we'd go down there and play basketball, pick up sides. You know, some black kids and white kids on the same team, play basketball. And when the game was over, they'd go back to their neighborhood, and we'd go back to ours and see you next time. And that was about it. There was never any fighting or arguing or whatever. And then finally, I guess in the late 60s, mid to late 60s, they integrated the schools and gave the black kids a better opportunity to maybe get an education, go to college and things like that.
Right.
So and there was never any really big trouble in Johnson City, in Tennessee, that much, it seemed like. And then when I came to University of Florida, we were, there was no black kids on the football team. And that didn't happen until about 68, 69, I think. And but I had a classmate that in one of my physical education classes, who later became the principal down at Edgewater High School in Orlando. So in 1990, when I became head coach here, he called me up and he said, Steve, I just want to thank you for being nice to me all the time. Oh. I said, you don't have to thank me for being nice to you all the time. I hope I'm nice to everybody. And he said, well, most all those other guys weren't all that nice at Florida back in those days. But anyway, and then I never had a black teammate. I never had one in college until we had these all-star games back in those days.
Okay.
I played in 3 all-star games. We can't even get our players to play in a bowl game now because they're afraid they'd get hurt. I played 3 crazy all-star games. The first one was in Hawaii. They had the hula bowl, and so they flew me and my wife Jerry out there, and so I finally had some black teammates.
Okay.
And we had a big time together. Floyd Little, Bubba Smith, a bunch of those Michigan State guys, and so forth. And then later on, tell you a quick story. Tom Coughlin has a golf event over in Jacksonville, fundraiser, and let's see, Floyd Little was there, who played at Syracuse. He was at some of those all-star games and so forth, and he was talking to the Boston Celtic guard, Sam Jones was there, and we were sitting around, had a little rain delay, and Floyd Little said, all of our black guys like Steve because he hung around with us all the time. And I said, you know why I hung around with you guys all the time? He said, no, why? I said, because y'all were more fun. Y'all were more fun to be around.
Okay.
Oh, we'd laugh and play cards and do just more fun.
Okay.
So after practice, where you guys going? Well, we're going to play a little dollar blackjack. We didn't have more than $10 a piece back in those days, but we'd play like a dollar little blackjack game and laugh and have a big time. But anyway, it was nice of Floyd Little to say all of us guys really like Steve.
Okay.
That was one of the nicest compliments I ever had right there.
But that's who you are.
Well, I hope so. I hope
That's
so.
why people
It's not hard to be nice to everybody.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I guess there's some people that have trouble with that.
My mother would say it's so easy to love and respect, but to hate, you have to plan. I am going to say this to him or her and make them feel uncomfortable. But anytime she would tell me that, she would always say, the people that attack you are the people with problems. Okay, so when you don't attack anybody, it's because you're prayerful and you know what you have been taught to do. So you have to plan to hate, and that's what caused the difficulty in Rosewood. And people don't know Rosewood was a small town, not very many people when it happened, like between 125, 150. But everybody respected each other, got along. Everybody was poor, P-O, couldn't afford poor. Okay, and they got along with each other, and they shared, they bartered, they traded eggs or whatever they had and someone else needed it. That was what made Rosewood what it was. It was a nice place. It was just a southern town like where I'm from, Archer, and just a little southern town, and people got along. And I appreciate growing up on a farm because it was character building. Mom said you got to treat everybody alike, and I grew up, I tell people I grew up in the Jim Crow days. I'm like, Liz, you're too young to know about Jim Crow, but I lived it through my parents. Okay, I remember stepping off the sidewalk to allow the whites to pass. I learned that. I didn't resent it. It was a way of life. Well, I probably did resent it, but I didn't say anything, back then. Yeah, but we have come a long way. My mom said, don't let this history be forgotten. Keep it alive for the next generation, because history, that's who we are. And it really is who we are. And again, I want to thank our title sponsor, Campus Credit Union USA, and our studio sponsor, Meldon Law, Jeffrey and Greg Bradley, our road sponsor. And again, remember rosewoodflorida.com to donate. So that's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be back after a quick word from our sponsors.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History. I am Florida and America's Black History, and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
My name is Lizzie Robinson Jenkins. I am the president and founder of the Rosewood Foundation, established 2003 in Archer, Florida. Years ago, in a little town called Rosewood, Florida, there was a massacre. Several people were killed, all because of guns, violence, disrespect. We cannot allow gun violence to take out our young kids. We're coming together. We're going to work together. And we are going to put guns on the run. GNV.
Welcome back to the Queen Lizzie podcast, recorded right here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Coach Spurrier's own podcast room. And sitting next to me is none other than Coach Steve Spurrier. We are here with the head ball coach himself, Steve Spurrier, and it's an honor. I am so honored.
Well, it's an honor for me, Lizzie, to be with you as we reminisce back in the 60s and 70s and so forth. And hopefully we can do a good job of getting the word out about the Rosewood Foundation. And hopefully we can get that built real soon. And I'm like you. We need to remember the past so we don't repeat it. You know,
Exactly.
When bad things happen, let's honor the people who maybe paved the way so life's a whole lot better for all of us now.
Exactly. And you are an example. You are a living example of where many of us need to be. I mean, sitting here discussing history and that you did not create, and we know it was ugly, but history is who we are. We didn't make it this way, but we're going to work together to keep it
Correct.
real.
Keep it good.
I love it. Yes, indeed. And as I often talk about my mom, I have to, because she said, "Baby, you must. This is what you must do. Keep it sacred and keep it alive, and write your books and tell your truth." So I do have an official book signing on the 24th of this month at the Matheson Center, and it's not my main book or my history book. It's a book about my childhood, because I first heard the story at age 5, and I talk about this in my book. I talk about how I grew up. My father purchased 285 acres of property in 1940, $10 an acre. The reason he did was because of segregation. He knew that his children, us, would not be allowed to attend parks and recreation centers. So he built a park out there where we live. When I say a park, we had a baseball diamond. It was 18 families in our community, in our village, I'll put it that way. And we had our basketball. I played basketball, my brothers and my sister, we all played basketball. We were good too. I mean, excellent. Yes. And we just grew up not knowing the bad part or the other side, I'll put it, of our segregation. It wasn't what my parents concentrated on, so they didn't tell us about it. If we didn't find it out for ourselves, they sure did not tell us to persuade our thinking about people. Whatever we learned or found out about people, we learned that on our own. Always respected our people, always. So it has been a challenge, but I have enjoyed every minute of it. And as I said, character building So my siblings and Mom said to us at age 5, sit down on the settee, Mama gonna tell you a story about Rosewood, and she did. And for some reason, Coach, that story attached itself for me because I am supposed to be the bearer of history.
Yep.
And everybody is born for a reason. You were born to do exactly what you have done and accomplish what you have accomplished and meet me.
I think you're right. We're all here for a purpose, and
Yes.
we don't know exactly what it is till we get moving on in life and so forth. I really didn't know I was going to become a football coach until I had no job and not much money. I had to do something, and I just felt like, well, maybe coaching, I'd have a chance to be pretty good at it. Because I've been around some really good coaches and some really bad coaches. You know, we learn from everything in life that happens. Learn what not to do as well as what to do. And so I'm just always thankful for the opportunity that, first of all, Coach Sticky gave me here at Florida, and then Coach Pepper Rogers, Georgia Tech, and Coach Red Wilson at Duke University when I had no job. I had no job, and those three men hired me, and then we had some success, and then I got hired later on because of what I'd done as a coach. So anyway, I know I'm blessed, and hopefully try to give back wherever I can.
Perfect. And you have touched so many lives. Okay, and from Archer, I know Vernell Brown is my little cousin. Okay, and he's from Archer. His whole family played football for you. You have impacted a lot of lives to help people get from point A to point B, and that is appreciated too.
Well, hopefully, I remember when I was talking to President Bob Bryan, who hired me here. I said, President, we need to have a way at Florida to have whatever type of major for all the players, not just white players, black players, but our players that maybe are not academically as good as the average student gets in. Now, football players generally aren't, but we must have a way to get these guys to graduate. Now, we're going to make them go to class, and they will go to class and study. And if they go to class and study, they should graduate from the University of Florida because they're going to give all they can to helping us win on the field, build honor, recognition, some glory to Florida, because everybody loves a winner. We're not going to be a loser, but we got to graduate our football players, and we got that happening. Yeah.
Yeah, you set standards, and I remember you all brought in tutors to help.
Yeah.
I remember, and I appreciate that. So it took all of y'all working together to make things better for.
And a lot of times your players at that age in life, they don't worry about what they're going to do after college.
Right.
And most of them nowadays, they all think they're going to play pro football until all of a sudden, oops, I'm not playing pro football. What am I going to do?
Exactly.
Well, you better have gotten your degree.
Yes.
And hopefully our coaches are trying to emphasize that nowadays also, instead of guys just hopping from one school to the other and so forth.
I remember, and that, as I say, that is very much appreciated.
Well, hopefully that's what we should do is give our players, they do a lot for us. What can we do for them to help out just a little bit?
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, one of my favorite things, Coach John Wooden, who's one of the all-time great coaches, he said, if you've been a good coach during your time, your former players 20, 25 years later will want to come back and hang out with you a little bit. So we've had all these reunions, and it is fun to see our old guys from 20, 25, 30 years ago.
Okay.
And they do like to hang around me, I think, and my wife, Jerry. So we get along, reminisce about some big games and so forth. But it is neat being around a lot of your former players.
And see, these are activities of such will keep us from hating on each other and disliking each other. Just respect each other. Like you said, they come back, they have fun, because they too don't want it to be another Rosewood. And the one thing that really bothers me these days, Coach, is the gun violence.
No.
The gun violence. I have an ad that comes on in the middle of my podcast. I made a gun violence ad. It's It's painful. We need to work with kids, and I work with a lot of kids through other organizations, trying to help them, okay, or to be more focused. I had a group out at my place Wednesday of this week, Wednesday of last week, the Mirror Image Leadership Academy that I talked about earlier. They came out and I talked to them about Rosewood and skills, manhood skills, not really manhood skills, but educational skills, so that they could be what they desire to be better at what they do. So there is a lot going on out there that we need to help each other, help our kids especially. And
Definitely.
yeah, discourage guns. Yes. And I grew up with guns in my house, but Dad had a certain place for them. He would keep them out of our way. And I remember when he purchased my two brothers, they were both 14 and 16, but they were not allowed to touch the guns until they were older. But he purchased those guns for them. And Rosewood is still on my mind, and I talk about it all the time because it's who I am. I'm very passionate about it. I got to, for my mother's sake, get that museum built for our kids, the next generation, so that in the event during the summertime when the kids or parents, teachers need some place to go, we will have a place out there because we want to resurrect the town of Rosewood. They had shotgun houses there. We want to build at least 10 shotgun houses for summer camp on the property so that the kids and the teachers and parents can come out and enjoy life in the country. We are welcome to everybody, and we have animals on the farm already, and we're going to probably increase the amount, but they need some farming skills. And what else do I need to talk about? The sheriff. The sheriff, I have already said he worked 96 hours straight. But you know what? Recently, I have a side of my family that's the McIntyre, and I have a young lady doing research, and she found out, I already knew they were part of Rosewood, but she said to me, Liz, I found my great-great-grandfather in Cedar Key in 1848, but he didn't have any parents. He was a kid, and I wondered, now, who are his parents? So on her, doing her research, she found a lady by the name of Dilla Love that lived with them. So that she would have been my great-great-great-grandmother. But I still don't know if she was his mother or his wife's mother. But anyway, the most amazing thing she said to me, she said, Lizzie, I know why the sheriff and the store merchant and the train conductors work so hard. She said, Dilla Love, who was your grandfather, your great-great-grandfather's mother, is the mother of John Wright. And John Wright was a store merchant. She has the information that we are going to be sharing. So they knew each other, plus they were related to each other. So that's why they worked, and that makes the story more interesting. And we're going to close with, I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. Thanks to Coach Spurrier, I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time, goodbye.